All right, guys, probably the most common question I get is how I finish from the back. It's a position that I really studied a lot because I felt like it was an extremely reliable submission. And just like any weapon, you want to make sure that if you use it, you're going to be able to use it correctly and efficiently. And that was a position I really kind of worked on a lot because I was good at taking it back and was, I kind of knew that I had a huge asymmetric advantage once I was there. I think defensively, even myself at the time when I was fighting the UFC, I wasn't so great defensively for that position. I've worked on that a lot since then. But I feel like there's still some people that aren't great at working from the back. So let's talk about how we can increase our submission percentage when we get to the back. So, Josh, for a second. Okay. First things first, positionally, I want to be able to take away their ability to use the floor and be mobile. So when I'm thinking about, my ability to be athletic or their ability to be athletic, I want to take away as many of their limbs as possible. So I'm thinking about taking away their limbs, and I'm thinking about taking away their ability to move. And by just being flat on your back, they're able to move a lot better here. First of all, like, put pressure on your legs. I actually feel like, yes, I have the back, but he's actually putting weight into me and making it uncomfortable for me. I'm the guy in the back. I should be making it uncomfortable for them. So I just like always taking him to a side this way, okay? And by being on their side, it's a little bit more difficult for them to move. They don't have as much access to get both of their feet to the floor where they can kind of utilize it against me, okay? All of our power, all of our movement comes from the floor. So by doing this, I'm kind of cutting their body in half a little bit and removing that movement. The other thing is like the position of my feet. First of all, in a perfect world, depending on how you line up against your opponent based on size and your leg length and all that stuff, I would always say going to a body triangle is always going to be the best kind of control. When we're thinking about, horrible situations to be in, if you're able to encircle your opponent or your enemy, right? And if I was encircled by someone, it's a much more difficult position for me to get out of. There's a lot more pressure on me now. There's less exits for me. So anytime you can encircle someone, wrap them up, it's more difficult for them to escape. So a body triangle is pretty ideal. It makes it more difficult, and it certainly slows them down. So if we can get to that, that's great. The other way to control the lower part of their body is instead of going your traditional hooks on the inside of their legs, I find this position to be way more powerful. I get on the inside of their leg here with a hook, and I cross my feet. This outside leg goes on top of that inside leg, and at the same time, I put a downward pressure on their hip. Okay, so now the way that he's going to escape, let's say if I have two hooks, is going to be for you to blade your body, get your shoulder in the center of my sternum, and start turning away from me. Yeah, and he unwinds the position a little bit. Doesn't mean he's going to get up and get away from me, but he can escape my back control. By me kind of getting this correct where I go inside, it's like a half back control position. And again, this leg is going up and down on my ankle, and I'm putting downward pressure with my hip. Can you get your shoulder in my sternum, please? I blade your feet. I can hold him here pretty efficiently. And what I'm doing is, he can't do that because his hips are essentially locked down. Do you feel that? Your hips can't really rotate. You can't blade your body now, which now kind of locks me into position. And it gives me more chances at getting my submission. If I can keep him here, I have more shots at getting that rear naked choke. If he's moving, I'm not thinking about my submission. I'm only thinking about my position, right? I need to constantly reorient my body and line myself up with him. And now I can't really effectively think about my submission game as much. Okay, let's slide over here. So I'm going to be able to slow them down. I want them to stay where I want. Now, as far as my positioning with my hands, okay,
So whether it's here with this position or the body triangle, that's what I would recommend. And then as far as my choking hand, I always want to cover up my choking hand. Okay? Open this up for a second. This is my choking hand. I'm going to block this up. Why? Because he's immediately going to try to get to my arms and pull it away. So he's always going to remove one of my arms, and I want it to be the top arm, not the bottom arm. So as he goes to remove it, this can then go into place as the actual attacking arm. So I'm constantly disguising this arm. So I'm blocking it completely, taking it away. If it's exposed here, just if I'm grabbing my wrist, grab the choking arm, and now it becomes this fight where it's also a 2-on-1 battle. Okay, so I want to be able to cover it up. So when he goes to control or take it away, I can move this down and then kind of come up with a choke. All right. The other thing I want to be aware of is, in order for him to get out of this position, there needs to be a certain amount of expansion with his body. If he compresses his body in tight, he can defend the choke relatively well. If he kind of gets into the fetal position, like gets super tight, bring your elbows in, bring your chin in, all that stuff. But, right, so it's going to be tough for me to get the choke. But are you going to get out of this position? It's going to be very difficult for me to get out of this position. So in order for him to move and get out of here, there needs to be a certain amount of expansion of his position. And that, but what I mean by that is, like, he needs to kind of get his shoulders out and start to kind of walk away. And see if he starts to kind of extend his legs. He's expanding his position. But in doing so, also potentially opens up his neck in that process. If I want to strengthen my neck position and really hide this target that I have here, I want to bring everything in. If I want to move, I need to kind of slink my way away from him so I can kind of get out of that hole that he has me in. But in doing so, right, I expose my neck. That's why it's a big time dilemma to give up your back like that. Because you either stay in here and protect yourself to get beat up if there's punches involved, or you look to try to move and get out of there and potentially give up a submission like an arm or, you know, a neck or what have you. So that's why it's like, I want to put them in those series of dilemmas again and again and again from a variety of positions, but that's what makes like the back so difficult to deal with. Okay, so now as far as like the actual finish of the choke, as I get in this position, right, I want to make sure I'm blocking that choking arm. All right, I can take him here on this side, and as he pulls the arm away, right, I can slide this in, get underneath the neck. I want to make sure as much as I can, it doesn't have to be, but I want to try to get my elbow lined up with his chin as much as possible. And then this hand is where I see the most amount of trouble when it comes to no-gi or mixed martial arts. People will choke and they'll go here, they grab their bicep and they take the bicep and they put the hand in front of the face and they go behind and then they get the choke. The problem with that is they can see this hand. If they can see it, they can grab it. This is the one that secures the choke. So yes, I could potentially finish it with one arm, but this is going to make it way more efficient. If it's efficient, it's repeatable. I can do it with less strength and less energy. So if I'm here, he can grab that hand, right? And now it becomes a tussle. Again, potential 2-on-1 situation that he could win, or I have to use a lot of energy to finish it. They should never see the securing arm. So when this is up, I want to make sure my hand is up and out of the way. My chin is also blocking it in the time being. There's an extra layer of security here. Can you grab my hand and pull it away? It's hard to even get to it. What about now? My chin is far away. He has access to my hand. So as soon as this comes up, I cover it. He might be trying to eye gouge me, but here I can also block it. And now he never should see the securing hand. I like making a fist. Also, I don't want to grab my fingers in case that's like a real fight or anything like that. So I cover it here, and I punch this behind. And now the way that I finish it, I'm actually going to pull my elbows apart and drive my chest into their back. Josh, just tap me. Feel it? It's a lot more efficient, in my opinion, to finish in this manner. I don't want to crank the neck where I'm doing something like this, pulling up, right? I don't want to squeeze my elbows together. You can finish that way. It's just not as efficient. And I always have people practice this to see which one is more efficient. If you go here and you grab both hands on the inside, and if I were to, let's see how long, just tap with your feet because your hands aren't really available. If I squeeze my elbows together, it takes a while. Okay, let's try the other one. I'm going to pull my elbows apart. Okay, and I'm using way less energy in the process. I'm engaging more muscles, right, by driving my chest into his back and expanding the large part of my back muscles. I have my shoulders involved as well. I have a little bit of tricep. I have that pressure again of me driving my body into his. So I'm able to engage a lot more muscles and be more efficient in that process when I pull my elbows apart as opposed to put them together. The way I learned to reigniting choke was actually put my elbows together. But it's way more efficient to expand your chest into their back and pull your elbows apart. You're going to get a lot more torque, in my opinion. And now, another thing, if you're looking to try to finish from the back and you're finding that, like, you know, their position is really good, or maybe you're on the wrong side of their body. Let's say I'm here. Let's see. I'm on this side. Okay, so my choking side is over here, and you know, I'm dealing with their hands. We can always, you know, kind of play this wrist game here this way, where I kind of have that straight jacket. Okay, and this is a great position that a lot of the Danaher desk squad guys love to use. So from here, I'm grabbing this wrist, I'm pushing this down, okay, and I'm going to attack that top side, that far side here this way. Okay, I'm throwing my legs, especially to get nice and tight. I can't really, it's hard for me to get these chokes, and they're really giving me a tough time. But it can also be easy for me to come up, trap. I'm going to put my foot in the hip, and I'm going to get my foot right on the bend of his arm. Okay, I'm going to push this down, and now I'm going to grab my own wrist, and I'm going to pull with my elbow on his elbow. I'm pulling this up, and I'm going to pull it all the way over this side. I'm putting my foot in the hip. I'm sliding up his body, and I'm reaching down for the ankle. I'm going to slide it all the way up by the neck. I haven't gotten my triangle yet, but it's still pretty tight around his neck. I'm putting my foot right against my knee. So I'm coming out, putting this together. Now, I want to make sure my toes are engaged here, and I want to make sure that I'm up. I'm sliding up and away from his head as much as possible. From here, I'm squeezing my knees together. I have the choke, and I have a lot of other things here as well. I can get wrist locks. I can get shoulder locks. I can get arm locks. A bunch of different things. Wrist lock, right? A bunch of different things I can get from there. So, again, one more time. So if they are really compact in that fetal position, making themselves very small, they're now also vulnerable to getting their arms and limbs maybe trapped. So let's say this is my choking hand. We talked about the choke being on this side, blocking, getting the choke. If I have that same position here for the choke, but I am finding myself on the opposite side, when I get to my hand position, my hand fighting position, this is where I can kind of control the wrists here. If you can get to the hands, this is ideal. Or if you can get to the hands here with that wrist control, this is also ideal. Like revving a motorcycle, I can have good control on the hands, right, and wrists. I'm driving this down. Okay, this is the choking side. I'm going to throw my throw my heel over the bend of his elbow. I'm going to grab my own wrist here, like a kimura. I'm putting my elbow underneath this way, bringing it all the way over. I'm keeping this leg, trapping that arm. I'm retracting my foot onto the hip. I'm sliding myself up and away. And now I'm going to grab. As I retract, I'm grabbing my ankle and just holding it here. Okay? If I need to scoot away from him and put my foot instead of on his hip on the ground, you'll notice there's never space between my foot and my knee. If I'm doing this, that's when he can kind of weave this hand on the inside, or maybe bring his elbow down inside this way. So I want to make sure that there's never an escape route. So anytime I'm moving, this is always connected. Try to move here, Josh. Scoot away. Triangle. Don't point your toes, ballerina toes. It's always jiu-jitsu toes flexed. And from here, I'm just pulling my knees together, getting the tap this way. If you feel like there's a little bit of space, like he's opening up his elbow this way, so I can't quite close that loop, I can create a base here, get a wrist lock here. I can come back for a straight arm bar, or I can go back down maybe for a wrist lock this way, or a shoulder lock this way, or a Kimura this way as well. I'm using my hip as a base behind his elbow to kind of stop his elbow from immobilizing. Now I have the pressure on the shoulder, and I can finish this way with that Kimura shoulder. Okay, so hopefully you guys found this helpful. Obviously, there's a lot to it, guys, but I find these two submissions to be really, really powerful ways of finishing from the back. That Bushido Sengaku, that triangle from the back, is one that, again, I learned from John Danaher several years back, and it's a great one that I really love, that helped my game from that position. And the rear naked choke was something that I've been doing for a long time. And, hopefully you guys find those tips and tricks helpful. And if it is helpful, let me know in the comments. If you have any other questions about this technique or other things you want to see, let me know. Thank you.